G'day and welcome to another episode. My name is Daystro the Aussie Geek, and today we are looking at the Master of the Universe X Transformers Scareglow Starscream. So, yes, I picked up Scareglow and I picked up He-Man the other day. And I won't lie, I don't know a lot about Scareglow, apart from him being a skeleton that glows in the dark. And I did do a quick sort of wiki skim. And I couldn't blame that same thing on a lot of other people either, because from what I was reading, basically Scareglow was one of the last figures from the original He-Man line, basically showed up in a couple of comics, the UK comics and whatnot, and I think actually showed up in He-Man Revelations, which I have not watched. So the fact that I have no knowledge as a kid of Scareglow makes a whole lot of sense, because he doesn't even appear in the original cartoon. In saying that, of course, he is crossed here with Starscream. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not sure who would have been a better sort of thing, because I think Scareglow is quite a, what would you call him, a obscure character to use on a very well-known Transformer character. So, fair enough. Hey, they did it. It works. Anyway, so initially, I thought that this figure was a bit limited because of his accessories. He's literally wearing all his accessories: the crown, the shoulder pads, the cape, the null rays. Because when you get him out of his box, he's got the crown in a little piece there. He's got his null rays to the side. Everything else is on him. Which, if you say get the Skeletor or the He-Man or the Man-at-Arms, you have a whole bunch of other stuff. I think that they either couldn't come up with a lot of additional stuff for Scareglow, or they just figured it was enough. Because even if you think about the Skeletor, including detachable armor, which he's got, these shoulder pads will come off. Skeletor has his detachable shoulder pads. He has his Havoc cannon, his flexible purple mace thing, a purple sword, and I want to say there's something else, but my brain's going blank. But as you can see here, we have two null rays, crown, shoulder pads, and the cape, which, from what I looked up, the cape is actually also not only a Starscream thing, it is a Scareglow thing, which that's pretty cool. So initially I thought this guy was pretty limited. But in saying that, I don't think there's probably too much more they could have done with this guy. As for other accessories, which of course they all come with, it's a He-Man tradition. You do get your mini comic, mini comic, which gives you your lore. This is a different comic to Man-at-Arms and Skeletor. This is, of course, the He-Man and Scareglow comic. Although reading it, honestly, and feel free to take a pause and read it, Scareglow don't show up. He shows up a bit, but it's very much He-Man and Skeletor. And I don't know if the whole betray Skeletor thing is a thing for Scareglow, or he's just inspiration from Starscream. So it is nice. Alright, so the figure. I think he definitely works better as Scareglow than he does Starscream. In saying that they are primarily Master of the Universe figures first, and then Transformer figures later. So it's basically a He-Man figure with accents of Transformers. He does look pretty good. I'm not sure. I'm assuming this is a plastic, but it feels material-esque. But it's not how bad. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Stability is always a thing, honestly, as you can see. Don't quote me on it, but I do feel like that the feet need to be bigger on these guys. They really do. Like, I don't know how stable proper Master Universe figures is. I know, obviously, I had the original Skeletor that came with the spider, the robotic spider, and I know his legs and his ankles didn't move. You can move them backwards and forwards, but there was no knee, there was no ankle or any of that. So this obviously has added articulation. The other thing is that I understand why they did it, but I also don't. He's got these null rays. They are axes as well. What gets me is Scareglow had a scythe. So I'm not quite sure why they didn't go a little bit more in that area, but obviously it mimics Starscream's wings and null rays, which is kind of cool, but that aspect of the figure doesn't quite work. But I'll get down to that when we get to the more skeletal thing. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the crown. The crown is a bit of a pain in the butt to get on. It is a nice bit of green. It's coming through gold. I don't know why. Green gem here. It is soft plastic, and I am very worried over time that is going to become brittle and it will break. So I'm going to be very, very careful with that. Also, it just slides over his head. I would like something that gripped a bit better. How about instead of going any further, we'll do articulation, so that way we can get to the actual Starscream parts, which, of course, they can pop out. And articulation is a little different depending on how you want him displayed. So head can do a full 360, can look up a tiny bit, can look down a little bit. Actually looked at more. It's also got a backwards and forwards, so I guess that could work for you. Side to side, which is great. I think that there's a ball joint in here and in his head. Now, we do shoulders, can do a full 360, but you're going to have these shoulder pieces rubbing on the cape. Arms can, if I can get it, I knew I was going to pop that out, can get up. It is somewhat awkward getting that shoulder back in place. Can get up that far with the shoulder plates, and it doesn't make much difference for taking it off. He has elbow bicep rotation. He has elbow bend that gets it that far. He has wrist rotation. He has backwards. Why do I keep finding a thing on the back of my hand? He has hand out, hand in. Fingers and thumb are set. You do have waist rotation. You have leg that gets up that far. You have leg that goes back that far. You have leg that comes out that far. I would say that I think the other ones actually have a bigger radius. He feels like he's got a friction knee. Doesn't feel like there's any ratchets in there. I'm gonna have to check Skeletor's too, because I've got Skeletor next to me. Gets you that far. You have technically in here, there's your ball joint for side to side. Very little side, very little the other side, a bit back, and a bit forwards. So there is that. All right, so let's get him undressed. You can take, obviously, other pieces off. I'm not taking this off. I'm not taking his head off. But if you want him looking a bit more like Starscream and less King Starscream, you can very carefully pop his cape off. You then will have to detach his arms, which are meant to be detachable, providing things don't fly everywhere. So I'll put them off to the side. And of course, it's just push in. I don't know how many times I'd actually be willing to do that, because honestly, I feel like plastic would start rubbing away. So take that for what it is. So there is Starscream like himself. I will say that is one thing the comics actually pointed at, is going into the fact that he looks like Starscream. You can take the weapons. You have these tabbed ports. I always say the wrong word. These pieces here that go into here. They just go in. Oh, while I'm thinking of it, while I'm plugging these in, yes, he does have a glow effect. His arms, his abs, his face do glow, but It could be just my figure, or it could be just my lighting. I cannot get it to glow properly. It does glow a little bit, but my camera cannot pick it up. So here he is as more Starscream. And he doesn't have to look bad. Honestly, he does actually look pretty damn good this way. Now, articulation is pretty much the same everywhere. However, if you want a traditional Starscream gun, null ray pointing pose, you won't really get there. Because the closest you can get is, angling things right, is that. That's it. So you can basically get a G1 original Starscream gun pose, but that's about it. Because you cannot get the shoulder up high enough, because this plastic piece here is rubbing on here to get it high enough so it's pointing out. And you cannot, because of how it's located, you cannot rotate it to put the gun on top, which I'll show, for example, when we do these size comparisons with a Starscream I've got. What they really should have done was put the null ray down here so it connects to the bicep. But I fell into a trap because my brain went, that's what Starscream would do. This is not Starscream. This is Scareglow. And that's something I've mentioned in the last two reviews, which was the Man-at-Arms and Skeletor. They are He-Man figures first before Transformers. My brain, when I got it, admittedly I was tired when I bought it, went, that's not a very good Starscream. He's not Starscream. He is Scareglow. So, yeah. I don't know if he can actually hold. Can he? Kinda. Sorta. Not really. But it is better using the middle of the thing to actually use as an axe. So you can make him look a whole lot more like Starscream if you want, and less King/Emperor Starscream. Poses all work still the same. Pretty decent clean back, and we actually get a spine here, which is pretty cool. So there you go. So let me put this guy back together, and we'll do some size comparisons. You know, I was going to do this without recording, but I'm like, you know what? It's not that hard to actually put him back together. Plus, there might be actually someone who wants to know how that works. So we need to pull everything off. Start with the shoulders, yellow bit to the front, find the proper arm, try to get it in there, and just push as hard as you can. There you go. You can hear the click, and it goes a little bit more stiffer. That is something that I'm actually concerned about. Like I said, I'm worried that eventually that will not be as firm. So I think after so many, it's going to actually start causing trouble. And that one I can never hear the pop. I think I got it. So it's not as tight as I'd like it. But I don't think I'm going to get it any tighter. I could possibly put nail polish on the side of these just to make it a bit stiffer, but I don't think it needs it. All right, so then you take those two, plug it in his back. Initially, I was a bit scared because the bit of paper that actually shows you, so here's Starscream's, doesn't actually mention that you can take the cape off. I think I actually looked on the back of the packaging or something to notice it. So yeah, I wasn't aware of that at all. So let's give him his axes again. I will say he does pose a lot better with the axes than actually having the null rays like you would Starscream, honestly. So that's actually how I have it. I actually altered my Skeletor's pose to get rid of the to stop using the fusion cannon as the fusion cannon and as an actual Havoc staff, which isn't exactly great, but I'm just being very careful with that. Now we just have to play fiddle with the balance so he's standing. The cape's not a lot of weight, it's just I don't think there's enough heel for the way the legs are set up. Alright, so pardon me, let's do a size comparison. Here he is for a Transformer comparison. Here he is with Make Toys Meteor, which was their Starscream. And this is the pose I'm talking about. You cannot do this. And if I use his other one, he cannot do that. Although admittedly, I have to fiddle with my null ray to actually get that to even straighten up anyway. That's because of this piece in here. Also, with the shoulder pads, that's also an issue with this piece rubbing against there. You can put it in, but yeah, like I said, he does look a lot better using them as axes than null rays. So there is that. And of course, we can't have Starscream without a Megatron. So of course, here he is with Skeletor. And I gave up with the whole shoulder, forearm thing because that null ray, that fusion kind of kept falling off. So I basically used the staff, but the staff is not quite long enough for it to actually just be used as a staff. So he's actually using it as a balance rod. So there we go. Yeah. Except for the top, because of the crown, they're about the same size. I don't know why that doesn't want to focus for me. Come on. Thank you. So yeah, they do look good together. I'm pretty happy with it, honestly. Like, I've tried to do this review a couple of times. I tried to do it yesterday before this recording, and I just kept not liking how it was. But like I said, my problem was I fell into the trap of thinking he's Starscream. He is not Starscream. He is Scareglow. So the fact that he looks better with the null rays in his hands than actually attached to his shoulders looks a whole lot better. Honestly, I think it does. But yeah, so there we are. There's the two of them together. So I'm really curious to see who we get next. Because I haven't heard anything. Admittedly, I haven't done any research or looking for anything. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. If anyone, I think we need either I'll tell you what would be just over the top, and I don't know why I think it's his face that I'm having trouble focusing on. I think Roboto would be a bit weird, but I would like to see a Roboto that's a Perceptor. I don't know why, I just really, really likes to see that. I'm not sure who else. Like I've said before, I would love to see an Evelyn that was a Skywarp. But I think we need a Teela, and we need Teela, and we need Evelyn. So we need a Skywarp, and I want to say, I think it's cliche, but I think if we got a Teela, it would be a RC. But because of the colors, I think Alita would be better. I really do think Alita would be better. So there we go. I'll stop rambling and we'll finish this review. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give me a thumbs down. I promise you it will not hurt my feelings. Subscribe, ring that bell, leave me a comment. And apart from that, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.